I'm doing 1.3 million in turnover per year and using mostly OA and 10% wholesale. A marketplace I'm selling on is Germany. I'm selling there for 4 years. The one thing is that it's the second biggest Amazon marketplace in the world. It's quite impressive. And the second thing is that the European marketplace is extremely easy to access via the German one. So you can sell with few clicks on the whole European marketplaces like Spain, Italy, France, and so on. So this is quite unique and very helpful.
Tell me about you. Tell me about the journey. Amazon, how did you get started?
The thing is, like when I started 4 years ago, I wanted to create a second income stream apart from my fixed job. Like most people, I guess, at this time in Germany, online arbitrage was not there yet. It was UK, US. So this is also how I met you the first time. It was on YouTube because there was no German content. And at this time, I really thought about starting a private label product. I even went this far to do the research and, rabbit hole. I came up with a live mouse catching device, where you can catch a mouse living. Luckily, I have not done it. It would have been burning money, because this obviously private label is a little bit more risky when you don't know what you're doing. And I'm a numbers person, so I really need numbers to make decisions. Therefore, I found online arbitrage, which fitted my needs much better. It's much more predictable. To start with it's much easier. The risk is lower in comparison. It's not better or worse like private label. It's just for a beginner with a limited capital to invest, it's the better choice, in my opinion. And since then, I scaled the business up to where I am now, all by having a full-time job on the side. Now, finally, end of the year, I do full-time online arbitrage. So I'm really, really happy that finally I can focus on what I really like doing. That's it. I mean, at the end, it was a long journey, 4 years, long nights. But at the end, it turns out it can sustain a normal lifestyle easily when you do it. And you could never reach this kind of income streams when you are in a fixed employment, in my opinion.
Talk me through, so obviously you're doing 90% OA and I think 10% wholesale, is that right? You never did the live mouse capture in the end?
Yeah, so 10% wholesale, 90% OA. I mean, OA is so much easier in the way of scaling and automating it than wholesale.
One of the key areas that I look at in regards to OA, and especially in Germany that I've heard from other people, is the availability of discounts, the availability of bulk buying, cancellation of orders, suppliers aren't so reseller friendly or reseller kind of no questions asked. Tell me about what that's like. I'm super interested because I've considered Germany so many times.
Yeah, I have seen this. Luckily for me, you have not joined. I guess it's a little bit like in all the other countries, right? Depending on the strategies you're running, there are obviously suppliers which are very, very reselling friendly. You can buy in bulk. You can order the same thing 10 times. They don't care. On the other hand, there are more and more bigger shops which have kind of a control mechanism. Then when you reach a threshold per year, per month, whatsoever, you get red flagged and then you are out of the game with this account. Obviously there are ways around, like in all the other businesses where you can create a second account. You can change certain informations so that you can reopen a second account. But let's say they're getting more aware of it. So you have to really learn each store, how it works, what's the threshold to stay below it. Do not be too greedy because this will bring you for sure on half of the shops in Germany on the red flag blocking list, let's say. Once you understood this game, it's quite easy also with the coupon codes, let's say, which is not as strong as in the UK and the rest of Europe, I feel. We have not this many coupon codes. It's not the style of Germans. Let's say they see a price, they obviously search for a coupon code, but it would be unrealistic when you get 50% off with coupon codes. They're like, what the fuck? You wanted to trick me into buying this for the double price. So I think it's more a negative thing for the shop. But there are ones. It's not as strong as in other countries. In general, I feel it's getting a little bit more difficult because the suppliers understand the game now more and more. They try to avoid this by more restrictions, let's say, by more checks. But still, it's a very, let's say, good place to sell.
So, I mean, from a high level perspective, the way I look at it is the UK generally follows the US because we're both English-speaking countries.
Correct.
German language for English is really high standards. So, but obviously, you kind of naturally gravitate towards German language content, should we say? But I also look at Germany as a bigger country than Europe. It has a higher GDP. There is cultural differences in that. And I think, the discounting element is not as big in the UK and definitely not as big as in the US. But I just think there's such a big opportunity there. What's the competition like in Germany?
There are many hobby sellers, but not so many who are really doing a business out of it. So this makes it in the way good. They come and go, but still they are coming more than are going. So this makes it also challenging. You have to find your way around it to find maybe the products which are not so easy to find.
You mentioned it off air. You said you're seeing an increase in foreign sellers. Can you tell me about that?
I mean, foreign sellers because Pan-EU, right, which we spoke about at the beginning. So there are many French, Spanish, Italian sellers who can sell very easily in Germany because their marketplace is not as big. They obviously start selling in Germany. The other thing is that I feel also the UK, like there was like a break between the UK and the rest of the European marketplaces, as you may know. And this also reduced the UK sellers to zero at one moment. It was very good for me because there were a lot of UK sellers with better prices than we were getting in Germany. But now in some ways, some of them are coming back. So I guess, and this is something I haven't figured out yet, but something I would like to exploit too. There's like a certain program now in place where you can sell to the UK. I already got my UK tax number. So I only need to understand, exactly how the tax-wise, how it's working. Because the UK market, to be honest, has always cheaper prices to purchase from than the rest of Europe. So it's very interesting. The only thing which I'm scared about is, I don't know if you have this also in the US or in the UK now, but certification. So there's like the CE mark on each product, which you have to provide Amazon pictures to prove it's aligned with the regulations. And I feel like there is a complexity in the PAN-EU program, which is created by this kind of specific rules to protect customers, right? At the end of the day, it's understandable why they do it, but it makes your life very, very difficult. You have to make sure that each of those countries you're selling in, the product you want to sell is, let's say, compliant with all the regulations. Even though it's European Union, it still has to be in the language of the country. It has to have certain informations in France, which it doesn't need in Germany. And now when you purchase in the UK, I have no clue if they would put on a package German instructions, right? So I guess there comes in a complexity with this European-wide selling, which we will have to find a way around it. But yeah, it's still at the moment very, very easy to do it.
So yeah, like having your own warehouse is helpful for that. But number two is the fact that I think all UK have CE marks because we just kind of naturally normalized. When you think about manufacturing, it's easier to manufacture for the whole of the European Union in one go rather than like departmentalized because it creates more complexity. But I do really understand about the language barrier. And that's one of the advantages in the UK and USA. And also we have Filipino staff. Everything's just English done. But I also know about like ingredients. In particular, I remember in the UK how many times I had products taken off because they contained like elements of shark. And obviously like you shouldn't be selling shark, I get that. But like it was just really interesting. Like, nope, this product's of shark, lost the whole listing. Like, damn.
Correctly.
Yeah, it does
Luckily,
happen.
in Europe, you can try to sell it in other marketplaces, right? You can try to sell it in Italy, France, Spain. So this gives you opportunities that you don't have to go to eBay or a second platform, which makes it even more complex. But still, it is challenging to maintain the listings in all the marketplaces.
Are you seeing like a strategic opportunity in regards to purchasing from the UK and exporting it to Germany to resell there that way? Because you're saying cheaper prices.
Absolutely. Especially beauty. Like all the good shops you can purchase beauty from, they're UK based. So the problem is for a German or European based seller, they invoice. They are not B2B. So we are online arbitrage, right? And in order to claim the VAT, you need a UK tax consultant, which claims the VAT there, or you need to factor this in by additional costs. And then it, destroys the advantage. So the only way to exploit the UK is when you can claim back the VAT within the UK. This is why I registered to have a VAT number there, because it opens doors, let's say, but still to be exploit. If with this European regulations, I will have problems selling UK products in the EU.
Now, if you're looking to scale and you're thinking about hiring a virtual assistant, what can I recommend that's going to save you time? Getting our free job description and VA contract. This is something that we have used to hire over 750 virtual assistants for our clients. And right now you can get it for free by accessing it by looking at the link down in the description. It's just going to save you time and help you grow your business much, much quicker. Also, like your prep cost in Germany.
The prep centers, let's say this was a big issue in Germany, to be honest, because when I started, there was one and this was completely overrun. And now there are like 6, I think, 7, which I know. So it's still on the...
That's like nothing.
I know, because...
I think I get like 6 a day in America wanting me to promote them. It's like hilarious.
But let's say we have a very good relation to one, and they are doing all my prep work. And in average, let's say you're paying there between 1 and 150 per unit.
Euros.
Yeah. Like when we jump to wholesale, right? I mean, the complexity of the cost is online arbitrage is a very shitty business from prep center perspective. Many small packages, many preparation things, low volume. Send them a pallet of the same product, you're paying 40 cents. So this is the difference. But when you do online arbitrage, they have more work. You can reduce it by scaling the costs, but in average, you will end up with the cartons, with all the additional costs, sending the DHL labels, to the Amazon warehouse. it's all included already, you end up at 120 to 150 per unit. When you do wholesale, you're more like on the range 40 to 60 cents. But on online arbitrage, you just find cheaper prep centers in countries where the salary costs are low, because Germany is not the lowest from the salary perspective. So Czech Republic, Poland, it could be easier, or when the competition is higher, like maybe in the UK.
What are the dangers in Germany? Tell me about that.
That you always get IP complaints, like in other countries too, I guess. So far, many customers exploit the fact they don't want to pay the return fee sometimes, right? So they can choose the different reasons why they send it back. It's not an original, it's for free. So I feel many people do it exactly out of this reason. They are sending it back because they don't want to pay the return fees. And then obviously these ones are very critical. You have to act very, very fast, means you have to provide the invoice. What happens in the US is dangerous because it shows that Amazon sometimes want to have much more information as a proof, which is, as an online arbitrage seller, it's impossible to get this. Why should they give it to you? It's not a B2B business, right? There you maybe can ask for it and you will get it, but you can't go to Target and tell them, hey, can you show me your suppliers? I need this for Amazon. They would be like, no.
You're doing 1.3 million in a year. How many IP complaints do you get a month?
I would say, you have to be specific, because each of the marketplaces is like a country, right? In Amazon's, and the worst country by far is France. Like by far. Like I get 90% of my IP complaints there.
How many in Germany? How many in France on average per month?
2 to 3 in Germany, and at least 3. Like in France, for sure, 3 per month. I would say 2 to 3 per month is a good. So in total, maybe 5 to 6.
And I'm guessing Germany. How much is of your revenue? How much would you say is German revenue?
Germany is still the biggest chunk. So I would say Germany makes 70-80%, and the rest is Panibu. So the thing is, I'm not, it's automated. So I don't create anything. I create it in Germany and then I'm selling it wherever I can. But still, Germany makes the biggest chunk, and it's by far the biggest marketplace. So it's reflecting. Then I think France, Spain, Italy, or maybe it's Italy, Spain. I'm not sure. But France is then after Germany next biggest, when you exclude the UK and you just look to the European ones.
If they are looking at coming into Europe, and let's talk about Germany, what advice, what feedback would you give them? What tips and tricks would you say, this is things that you need to consider?
I mean, for me, the most important thing always is to have the foundation right. Because when you are not clear with the foundation, meaning especially tax-wise, right? Because this is your base. And then obviously all the other things which you have to consider on each country, meaning that you are in accordance with the lay. I mean, many people, they think it's easy, but at the end, there are some problems you can create yourself, which you can avoid when you know how to do it in a certain country. So for me, I would spend the time needed to create this space by asking people who are selling there already to do, let's say, they're a little bit, invest time in it. And then the rest is really copy paste from the online arbitrage blueprint you're already using in your country, right? It will be different from the coupons, it will be different from the type of shops you have to use, but these are things your VAs or yourself can learn very easy. Then the foundation is correct and you're good at this. I think it's quite easy. It's just a question how to get there and how much knowledge you have to create or purchase, let's say, in order to start there with a good foundation. To be honest, in France, it's even worse. Apparently, when you create their company, it can be even worse. In European Union in general, they are very specific on creating a company. You have to be proper in all of them, not only in Germany. So I think even Germany is maybe an easier way to start than in France, Italy, or Spain, because let's say what I have seen from the VAT register process, that was Germany one of the easier ones, and the other one, they took much longer. You
talked about creating companies. So obviously I understand a little bit. In the US, we have LLCs. In the UK, we have limited companies. In Germany, you have GmbH. Is that right? And then you have micro GmbHs. Can you tell me about those two? What's the difference? And do we need one?
When you are German-based, we normally recommend to do it as a sole property. So your person is the company, right? It's the easiest start. But then at one moment, you have to switch to different company form. And then, like you mentioned, you have the GmbH, which is the the LLC version, I think. I'm not sure in the US. And then you have the UG, which is kind of the micro GmbH. I would recommend everybody to directly start with the GmbH. The main difference is you have to put into the company 25K. You don't have to keep it there. It can work and you can purchase goods for it, but you have to prove that you inputted 25K. And on the UG side, so on the micro GmbH side, you can start saving it up until you reach it and then you make the switch. But the only difference is that it's a lot of paperwork again, and the advantage is zero. It's a disadvantage because when you go wholesale, they see a UG, a micro GmbH, they are they not even have enough, 25K to make a GmbH. So at the end, when you have the money and the capital, started directly with GmbH. If you have the possibility as a sole property, which is in theory only possible when you're living in Germany, then this is the easiest way by far to start.
Okay, so I just want to take a quick moment to say, if you are struggling to find deals and struggling for time, which is a classic thing in this business, have a think about getting a virtual assistant. They cost just $3 per hour. And you know what? We have trained VAs ready to go. They're going to help you out in scaling your business. We support you for 12 weeks and we charge a one-time fee, and they can change the game. There is a reason why we've placed over 750 VAs with sellers just like you. Have a look at the link down below. Check out the Fast Track FBA VA Academy today. And then the final one I'd like to ask about is credit, access to capital. You know, when we talk about USA, I always say to people, ideally $10,000, if not 30, because getting access to credit is like nigh on impossible for the first few years. We talked off air, you got people doing like hundreds of thousands in credit. Is it easy, hard? You know, and obviously you run a community, so I'm guessing there's people in there who might not be German nationals. Tell me about that.
Yeah. Like the access to money, I would say it's quite good, but in a way you need a history, right? So when you are a US seller, it will be much more difficult because obviously a bank wants to have in any way accessible data. In the European Union, it's quite easy. You have certain agencies which collect kind of those information, share them in between. But in general, the access to money is quite good. So there are a lot of e-commerce financiers now which understand Amazon and makes it very easy to get access to also bigger loans. They look at your selling history, maybe, you know, when you're selling in Spain or the UK, they connect to your account, they see what you're selling and then give you within a few days an offer. Obviously, the interest rate will be very high, but in comparison with what amount of money you can make with it, right? We both know the margins and the turnover, it's still a good business. On the other hand, you have the Amex, right? The Amex business is like the starter, like boost everybody is using. And there you get also quite fast, big credit lines. But like I said, it depends a little bit on your background. But my recommendation would Amex business for sure. If you get one, it's the easiest way to get like a first small boost. And then maybe you go to a normal bank, which I feel like they give you much better conditions. But obviously you need a certain security. So there are a lot of ways you can get to it. And maybe one thing I wanted to mention is there are also a lot of subsidies from the government. In a way, when you create a company, then they would give you ridiculous low interest rates for huge credits. It's not that easy to get it, but when you're in there, it's like a dream for invest, like say for creating a company, because it's the cheapest money you can get. Let's say the government is helping you to get it because they want you to create companies. But on the downside, the paperwork you have to do is also insanely high. It's all in German. So, you know, on this side, maybe not the best choice for people who are not speaking German.
So I know you run a community. Tell me about that.
Because when we started, I mentioned this already, in Germany, there was no online arbitrage community at all. So all the information came from the UK, US. And obviously German is differently, Germany, different language, different mentality, and also tax-wise very different. So we started to create a community we call this Happy Arbitrage. And we are growing now since then enormously because obviously the business model got more famous. And let's say we are on YouTube a little bit and have a Discord community. This is at the moment the way we communicate the easiest with our community because it's much more interactive than Facebook, for example. But still we have Facebook, Discord. So when somebody is interested, it's mostly in German, but obviously we can create some English groups when there are people who would be interested in. And in general, we are trying to give out as many informations for free as possible in order to lift the community, right? Because I feel like it's a giving and taking. And the idea was to support people who want to start in Europe or especially in Germany. So if there's some need in any way, they are very happy to join and to ask and to see if it's the right fit for them, Germany or not.
Philip, I just want to say thank you so much for sharing everything and that you've done.
Thank you, Thomas. It was really nice having me.
Take care.